a little bit earlier than usual. It's the girlfriend's birthday today, so I told her, you know what, we're going to stream still, but hopefully I can be done by 7 for you. We'll see if the stream goes long, it goes long. But before we get into anything, as I set this up, of course, if you have not done so already, please drop a like on the live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. We have not missed a single day of live streaming in well over 150 days. Like, God knows how long it's been at this point, but it's at least been 150 days straight. And of course, if you want to check out any of these player props on Underdog Fantasy, you can always find the link in the description in the comment section. I would recommend go hitting that link right now and signing up so you can A, take the Gabe Davis more than 3 receptions line, but B, at the same time, only with promo code FLOCK are you going to be getting a 100% deposit match and this free Patrick Mahomes line for the game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, I'm no mathematician, I'm no expert, but I think Patrick Mahomes does throw at least 1 passing yard. So I worked my butt off to give you that. Go deposit $10 on Underdog. Immediately have 20 in your account. Go bet 20 on Patrick Mahomes to have a passing yard. Link in the description. So I think that should be about it. Let me make sure that we have this chat set to subscriber only, as well as throw a little poll and link to Underdog with the live chat. Then we should be good to go, ladies and gentlemen. And we have Nathan saying, would you trade Christian Kirk for Chris Olave? I think that they are going to be very comparable. I would actually rather have Christian Kirk this week over Chris Olave, looking at the fact that, hell, you have Christian Kirk going up against the Detroit Lions. Right now, Las Vegas sportsbooks are telling us that that is supposed to be the highest scoring game outside of the Cincinnati Bengals and Kansas City Chiefs this week. I think it's very close, my friend, and I think it is going to be a fair trade one way or another, but it's mainly going to come down to your personal preference. G Supreme says, are we going to go with Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson? This week, I probably will go ahead and take Dak Prescott, knowing that with Deshaun Watson, this is a quarterback that at the end of the day, yes, has a ton of upside for rest of season. Not going to be surprised if Deshaun Watson ends up turning into a top 5 QB, but at the same time, it's no guarantee, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it's entirely possible that Deshaun Watson does start very slow, that he has a lot of rust. I still think that, honestly, people are probably overblowing the risk. I still think that he's probably someone that you just need to get really excited about. And the People's Champ says, what's up, Mason? What do I do if I'm stuck with Claypool, Carter, James Robinson, and Hasty for the flex spot this week? Oh, dear God, my friend, you cry yourself to sleep. I'll tell you that much. What the hell did we get ourselves into? Hasty is someone we can play if Travis Etienne were to miss, but sounds like Etienne's going to play. Is this DeAndre Carter or Michael Carter? Let me pull up the last report that we had with Michael Carter, but I was operating under the assumption that Michael Carter's not playing. Yeah, Michael Carter didn't practice today. So you're not going to have Carter. And we're not going to start DeAndre Carter, I'll tell you that much. Between James Robinson and Claypool, knowing that James Robinson was a healthy scratch last week, and you have no Darnell Mooney. I mean, y'all know we've been saying it for God knows how long that all Chicago Bears wide receivers are overrated, that you want none of them. You have one game from Justin Fields this season with over 200 passing yards. But I guess maybe with the Darnell Mooney injury, but more importantly, just because everybody else here is horrendous, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Chase Claypool. Oh, that's brutal. Now, Josh says, Hurts for White, Gabe Davis, and Justin Fields. We have Deshaun Watson. I think you keep Jalen Hurts, my friend. I think Jalen Hurts can easily be the quarterback one in fantasy rest of season here. The People's Champ says, forgot to say it's full PPR and Michael Carter. Yeah, I don't think Carter plays this week. If Carter were to play, we're going with him out of that list. But I think you probably end up having to take Claypool, my friend. And Joe says, yo, Mason, in a half PPR, 12-team PPR format, the deadline's coming up. We have Tua and Amari for Josh Allen. Also have Deshaun Watson. My wide receiver 2 would be Lockett, and flex would be Garrett Wilson. Okay, so honestly, I think that we have to go get Josh Allen almost regardless. Like, it does suck. I understand why you would sell Josh Allen for Amari and Tua Tagovailoa if you are really wanting to buy into Deshaun Watson coming back in. If you think Amari Cooper's a top 10 wide receiver rest of season, if you think Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback rest of season, then honestly, the trade probably makes sense. But like we were saying earlier on in the live stream, while they have the upside to do that, it's not going to be a guarantee from the Deshaun Watson standpoint. If you're looking at just how many raw points per game you're going to be getting from Josh Allen rest of the year, you know for a damn fact Josh Allen's going to be that elite level player for you. So I think we probably just keep Josh Allen. Abraham says, back to support the flock. Thank you, my friend. 12-team full PPR format. How are you feeling about Pickens rest of season? And are we starting Deshaun this week? Other quarterbacks, Geno. Yes, I'll start Deshaun Watson over Geno Smith. And also asking if Amari Cooper's top 10. I think Amari Cooper, you can make a strong argument that he's top 10 rest of season. I believe this week when we're expecting Watson to maybe start a little slow here, we had Amari Cooper at 12. But regardless, what's the difference between 10 and 12? And then I will start Deshaun Watson over Geno Smith. Not sure if we're saying that. With George Pickens, I mean, obviously, the man is a walking highlight reel. George Pickens has been phenomenal. But at the same time, I mean, the issue is nothing to do with Pickens himself. This offense has just been garbage. And I don't know if it's getting that much better anytime soon. Gene says Pierce for Jet Wilson, Stevenson for Kamara in a half PPR format. I actually just created our rest of season running back rankings, so I can tell you exactly where these guys are. I have Jet Wilson at 21, Dameon Pierce at 23. I have Alvin Kamara at, I'm sorry. These are the wrong rankings. That's this week. I apologize. We have Jeff Wilson at 20, Pierce at 17. We have Kamara at 13 and Stevenson at 12. So we're going to go Pierce over Jet Wilson, and we're going to go Stevenson over Kamara. Thune says, completed a Saquon for McCaffrey trade straight up before the deadline in a full PPR format. What are your thoughts? I mean, we just went through and finished our running back rankings. I have Christian McCaffrey at 5, Saquon Barkley at 6. If Elijah Mitchell were still healthy, then maybe at that point I would say, okay, well, we just got to go ahead. We probably just have to take Saquon Barkley, or knowing how we've seen Christian McCaffrey split this back. Now, with Elijah Mitchell going down, I am going to have CMC ahead of him, but they are back-to-back for us. D-Lang says, drop Curtis Samuel for Jalen Warren in a half PPR format. Thanks. So thank you. And I would say with Najee Harris missing practice today, with Jalen Warren being back in practice, I think you have to. Now, Batman Gaming says flip Juju and Pat Frymuth for Evans and Foster Monroe in a 12-team half PPR format. What are your thoughts? I think if you had another capable tight end, I'm fine with it. If you're now relying on Foster Monroe as your starter, I don't really like it. But that's because I think Pat Frymuth is a very quality player rest of season here. D. Porter, always happy to have you out, says, hey, Mason, I'm losing faith in Juju. Am I overreacting? Should I start Pickens or London over? Flock, rattle, and roll. Thank you, my friend. And with Juju, I mean, he was a sell-high guy for us about a month ago, but honestly, I am more excited about Juju than we were before the injury, because with Juju, his situation got better. You have no McCall-Hardman, you have no Kadarius Toney in Kansas City now. So I actually think that Juju Smith-Schuster is a better option than he was before the injury, even if he was scoring more points before the injury than what we saw this past week. I think this past week was a small sample. So I would say don't start Pickens, don't start London over him, especially not this week when you're going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. But real quick, we are one like away from hitting 100 likes in the live stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like. I'm going to show you how it's done. You click on that, which you already did. But then from there, you're going to go ahead, you're going to hit that thumbs up. It will do a cool little animation for you. Help us get to 100. It does support the channel a ton. Now, Thomas says, Olave or Garrett Wilson. I do like Garrett Wilson's matchup. I mean, I think that these two guys are very close. If you're looking at underdog projections this week, they do have Olave ahead of Garrett Wilson. If you're looking at my rankings, I'm going to go Olave. With Olave, we have it over a larger sample. I don't know, did they move this Garrett Wilson line yet? They had Garrett Wilson at 50.5 receiving yards. Let's see if it's still there. Yeah, they took it down. I'm assuming that they're about to go through and update it and maybe move that a little bit higher. But they had that at 50.5 receiving yards, and we were going and taking the over. I don't know. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is very appealing with Mike White in. I probably go Olave. We've seen it over and over again. Now, XDS has dropped Dameon Pierce for Miles Sanders in a standard league. So I just made those rest of season running back rankings. I have Miles Sanders at 16, one spot ahead of Dameon Pierce. Now, Spoon coming out says, hope you're doing good, Mason. What do you think? Lamar or Watson this week? We're going to go Lamar over Watson this week. While I think Watson does have a lot of long-term upside, still, the floor is very low his first week back in. What about Garrett Wilson or Mike Evans? Much love. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I completely understand why you would want to start Garrett Wilson over Mike Evans. I have Mike Evans at 18 this week. I have Garrett Wilson at 20. They are very comparable. I am going to go Mike Evans, despite Evans being very disappointing as of late, and despite Evans going up against Marshall Lattimore. Nick says, been watching you for years now, my guy. No, Nick is one of the OG members of the flock. Nick was part of the flock back when I believe we were just Dynasty, or maybe right when we hit the switch to turn over to redrafts, and made the playoffs in 39 out of 52 leagues with 14 buys. Oh my gosh. Congrats, my man. That is awesome. I'm so happy for you. Start one running back, one flex between Pollard, Jamal, Burks, Pittman. Also drop Higbee for Tyler Conklin or Hunter Henry. Higbee's very difficult because obviously with Higbee, I mean, he just has a ridiculous amount of target volume, but I mean, this Los Angeles Rams offense, if they have no Matthew Stafford here, could be seen as the worst offense in the NFL, or pretty damn close to it. I don't know. I'm probably still going to go ahead and take Tyler Higbee. And then our one running back and one flex between Pollard, Jamal, Burks, and Pittman. We're going to go with the combo of Pollard and Michael Pittman with the assumption it's a full PPR format. Christopher says, start Warren since Najee's hurt, or Dameon Pierce. I mean, with Warren coming back from his own injury, I would go Dameon Pierce over Dylan Warren. Double R says, Josh Jacobs, owner once with Zamir White as a free agent in my league. Should I prioritize him with a handcuff of the calf injury news? My running backs are Rashad White, Gus Bus, and Hunt. I would have to drop Hunt if so. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. Do not drop Kareem Hunt for Zamir White until you actually get Josh Jacobs ruled out this week. I don't think Jacobs getting ruled out. I think Jacobs going to take the week off. The man deserved it. The man has 300 total yards last week, coming off a game with just a ridiculous workload. So I don't expect Josh Jacobs to really be practicing at all. I expect Josh Jacobs to be playing. If we get close to this weekend and Josh Jacobs hasn't been cleared, maybe it's Saturday, Jacobs isn't cleared yet, he's a game time decision, and then at that point we want to go ahead and panic and go pick up Zamir White, we can. But the issue with Zamir White is he's an undersized running back that can't catch the ball. I mean, that's one of the big reasons why we weren't drafting Zamir White at all this past year. I'm sorry, and why we were all over Josh Jacobs and people are excited about Zamir White. Space Ghost says, trade Dameon Pierce for Garrett Wilson in a full PPR format. You know, we've been saying Dameon Pierce overrated for God knows how long, but you still prefer Dameon Pierce. D. Burrito says, pick one receiver for the flex this week. Hollins, Gallup, Cooks versus Van Jefferson, McKenzie, or Elijah Moore. And flex Warren or Latavius Murray. We'll go Latavius Murray over Jalen Warren. And then for the wide receiver this week, I think that we're probably going to end up with Michael Gallup. I don't want to act like Michael Gallup is just some locked and loaded stud here. Like, obviously, Gallup, I mean, hasn't really given you much at all this season outside of making some highlight grabs on Thanksgiving. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys should do well. Let's pull up the implied team totals here. Okay. Set this to week 13. And of course, as I pull this up, if you want to check out any of these player props on Underdog, if you want to go ahead and get a free Patrick Mahomes bet only available for people who use promo code FLOCK, you can find the link in the description, find in the comment section, find in the live chat. Literally, I worked my butt off to get you that. It's only for people who use promo code FLOCK, so make sure you take advantage. Available in damn near every state. But how can I not find the implied team total here for the Cowboys? I think we go Gallup. I mean, even if they're 11-point favorites over the Indianapolis Colts, even if you're expecting that they're going to run the ball over and over again in the second half, Gallup's still the best player out of this group. He's in the best offense outside of Isaiah McKenzie. Let's go Gallup. It's close, but we're going to go Gallup. Please don't be starting Elijah Moore. PSA for everybody. I know Elijah Moore has the name value. I know a lot of people drafted Elijah Moore early this season. For the love of God, do not think you can go through and get that excited about Elijah Moore. The man had 2, and I repeat, 2 receptions this past week. I mean, 2 targets. Played like 30% of the snaps. Joseph coming out with a massive dono. Thank you so much. As started hoarding defense for the playoffs since I'm a lock at 8-4. We have Titans defense for week 16 since they play Houston, but 49ers defense was dropped and they play Washington week 16. What would you rather have for week 16? I would rather have the 49ers defense. I mean, because the 49ers defense may very well be the best defense in the NFL. Like, obviously, the Houston Texans offense is worse than Washington, but with how damn good the 49ers are, my friend, I think you pick up San Francisco. Let me pull up their schedule for the rest of the playoffs as well for weeks 15, 16, 17. So 15, Seahawks, not a great matchup, but then they have Washington, then they have Las Vegas. I think you're probably going to be starting 49ers defense very, very often. Let's get the 49ers. Christian says, 10-team full BBR format, 10-2. Just traded Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Samaje Perine for Jamar Chase. My team's now Herbert, CMC, Stevenson, Hopkins, Chase, Amari, Schultz, Lenny, White, Deshaun Watson, Jacoby Myers. How did I do? You're number 1. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. I will say with Christian Watson, he's a wide receiver I'm really rooting for. I want Christian Watson to come out here and continue to crush it. But if we're going to be realistic with ourselves, Christian Watson is probably in line for a ton of regression here. Christian Watson has 8 receptions and 6 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. 8 receptions and 4 touchdowns, or maybe it's 12 receptions, 6 touchdowns. Regardless, I think it's 12 receptions, 6 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks. He's averaging a touchdown on 50% of his receptions. I'm no rocket scientist, but we did crunch the numbers. That's not going to keep up. There's no way in hell for the rest of his career he's going to be averaging a touchdown on 50% of his receptions. The volume's not there. You may get Romeo Doubs back in eventually. So, I mean, I think that it's not a horrible idea to be selling off of Christian Watson. Perine, you're getting Mixon back this week, so he has no value. We're getting Jamar Chase here, my man. Of course you smashed it. You're 10-2. You have a phenomenal roster. I mean, the only thing we should be thinking about is that upside for the fantasy football playoffs. I love it, my friend. And now Tani, always happy to see you. It says 2 quarterback PPR format where we have Kyler, Watson, Chubb, Wilson, Jefferson, St. Brown, Andrews, Chase, Dillon, Perine, Hollywood. Any moves we can trade until week 14. Thanks. So thank you for supporting the channel. Nope, no moves. We have 2 quarterbacks that have some rushing upside, but also just the passing volume in their offense as well. 2 quarterbacks that could be top 5 guys rest of season. We have a running back 1 with Chubb. We have a running back 2 with Jeff Wilson. We have 3 elite level wide receivers with Jefferson, St. Brown, Chase. We have an elite level tight end with Andrews. We have adequate depth here. Phenomenal roster, my friend. I think you ride as is. David says a 4-8 in a 12-team full BBR format. Asked last week about trading Adams for a running back upgrade. We have Dalvin, Hunt, Pacheco, Dillon. Traded Adams for Ramadre, Olave, and Hawkinson. Also have Christian Watson, Garrett Wilson, Rondale, and Palmer. What are your thoughts? I like it. Obviously, we're going to have to drop 2 guys to go through and pull this trigger. But I would say once we have the Damian Harris injury, Ramadre Stevenson looks locked and loaded to be that 3-down bell cow. Like, even if you just look at the line that Underdog has with Ramadre Stevenson this week, to look at the weekly expectations, he's a running back supposed to go over 100 yards. Like, if we compare this to some other lines, just in comparison, I mean, Saquon Barkley there at 95.5. Where's some other bell cows? Dalvin Cook at 91.5. And Nick Chubb at 91.5 rushing. So Ramadre Stevenson is right there. I mean, Derrick Henry at 95.5 rushing as that bell cow running back. So I do think it's a fine deal, especially if your league needs depth. Now, Sharv's coming out. Thank you. Says Watson, Lawrence, or Fields if healthy. I think we're going to go Justin Fields if healthy, but I'm going to be a little concerned about that shoulder. And then also Saquon, Walker, Etienne, Amari, Higgins, Garrett Wilson need to sit 1. We play 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. You are easily playing the running backs. Etienne, Walker, Saquon have to be in your starting lineup regardless of matchup. I think you easily play Amari and Higgins well, even with Garrett Wilson looking like a phenomenal wide receiver, even if Mike White looks like he's elevating this offense. I think Garrett Wilson's the guy we're going to be benching here, my friend. Parker says, hey, Flock, a 2023 early second or Christian Kirk in a dynasty non-superflex 10-team league? I think it's a very fair price point up to you. Obviously, in dynasty, you do have to think about the fact that you are going to end up getting Calvin Ridley back in Jacksonville or arriving in Jacksonville for the first time in 2023. So that is something we have to at least consider when we are projecting out Christian Kirk. I would say probably we want the pick if it was going to be an early 2023 second in a super flex 10-team league. But in a one quarterback format, those rookie picks are going to be worth a little bit less. I'll probably go Kirk. It's fair. It's fair. Now, real quick, we are one like away from hitting 200 likes in this live stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the stream. Help us hit 200. Looks like about half of y'all already have, so thank you so much. And Thomas says, is Hollywood a better flex rest of season over Olave? Probably not, my friend. Now, Stefan says, 12-team standard league. I can drop London and Deontay. I have Adams, Lazard, Rondale, Palmer. P.S. I'm glad I went through and traded Kamara for Josh Jacobs. Happy for you, my friend. Happy for you. Okay. I think London and Deontay, I mean, if you wanted to drop them, I'm not going to argue against it. Like, at this point, what is the real ceiling? We've already seen that there's no passing volume in either offense. We've already seen that even if Deontay Johnson is going to be getting 10 targets a game, he's still not going to produce. Speaking as someone who drafted way too much Deontay Johnson this year, he's given you nothing regardless of the situation. So if you wanted to go through and drop Deontay, if you see someone like Treylon Burks off the waiver wire that we could go through and pick up that maybe has a little more ceiling, a little bit of a higher ceiling, I'd be fine with it. Nicholas says, Dylan, Swift, or Carter in a non-PPR format. We're going to go with A.J. Dillon in non-PPR, my friend. Caleb says, 10-2 moves to make, no trade deadline in a 14-team half PPR format. We have Tua, Burrow, Henry, Connor, Madison, Kyren Williams, Rashad White, Tyreek, A.J. Brown, Pickens, Burks, Waller, and Taysom Hill. I mean, obviously, 14-team league, depth's going to be a little bit harder to come by. I'd say in a 14-team league, this is going to be a much better roster than it would be otherwise. I think that's kind of why we're seeing the fact that hell, you're 10-2. I mean, I think that this was a 10-team league. This would just be a middle-of-the-road roster. But in a 14-team league, obviously, it's going to be significantly better. So I think if we were looking to do anything, possibly we go ahead and approach a team that needs a quarterback. Now, I know that these are very exciting options. Because they're very exciting options, we are going to be able to get a lot for them, or at least I'm going to assume that we are going to get a lot for them. I think that we go through, I think that we see what we could potentially get for Tua Tagovailoa. The reason I'm saying to trade Tua instead of Justin Herbert is because I think we could get more value for Tua right now. And with Justin Herbert, I think that if you were selling him, you are going to be selling him at a low point. The man's had a very bad situation so far this season. Obviously, had Keenan Allen go down week 1 as you're getting Keenan Allen back in. Mike Williams goes down. You even have an overlap where you have neither wide receiver in this offense for quite some time. So if you could go ahead and, I'm sorry, we have Burrow, not Herbert. I apologize. We're just still going to keep Burrow, especially with Chase coming back in. So if we could trade Tua as well as maybe one of these tight ends like Taysom Hill and go get a viable tight end, go get a Mark Andrews, I think that'd be fine. I mean, that's going to be easier said than done. So maybe what you end up doing instead is trading Tua Tagovailoa and then a depth piece like George Pickens and getting an elite level wide receiver for the flex. Now, Mr. Lee says, need to drop a handcuff, Rashad White or Samaje Perine. You drop Samaje Perine easily. I mean, with Rashad White, there's a small chance that he overtakes Leonard Fournette as the starting running back rest of the season. Small chance. Bud Wheeler says, start 3, Lamb, Higgins, Chase, and Amari. I like all 3 options. I think you have to start Lamb and Chase no matter what. Higgins and Amari are going to be close. I mean, obviously, it's the first week we are getting Deshaun Watson in this Cleveland Browns offense, so there is naturally a little uncertainty here. I have Amari Cooper ranked wide receiver 10. I have T. Higgins ranked wide receiver 11. I can ask the live chat. Everybody, please, in the chat, let me know, what are you doing? Are you going T. Higgins or Amari Cooper in your starting lineup this week? This week, you have Amari Cooper going up against the Houston Texans. First week that you're getting Deshaun Watson. Or are you going to go ahead and play T. Higgins going up against the Kansas City Chiefs in what should be a shootout? Please, everybody spam the chat. Everybody spam the chat. We have 500 people here. Let's get 500 messages. Okay, we got Higgins, Amari, Higgins, Amari, Higgins. Okay, it looks like the chat split pretty close to 50-50. I mean, I kind of figured that the chat would be close to 50-50. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, we have them ranked back-to-back in our rankings. So I think you have to play Chase as well as Lamb. And then that last spot is going to be up to you, my friend. Exit Forever coming out. Thank you. Says, traded Pierce, Mike Williams for Alvin Kamara and Adam Thielen. I like it. Team is now Mahomes, Cook, Ramadre, Hill, Lockett, Hurst, Alvin Kamara. Going to make the playoffs. Did I win the deal? I think so. I mean, if we're looking at Alvin Kamara, I know he's been disappointing as of late, but the man still gets targeted very often at the backfield. The man still does have an elite level ceiling. This past week, I mean, you're not going to find a tougher matchup than what he just had against the 49ers. Exit Forever says traded Dame. No, we just answered that one. Kevin says Watson, Geno, or Fields if healthy at quarterback. We're going to go Fields if he is healthy. Kevin Effects says championship, need to win the next game or two. Full BBR double flex. If my bench isn't deep, do I trade Barkley and Devonta Smith for Jonathan Taylor as soon as a bye and Isaiah McKenzie? Okay. Actually, I'm assuming this may actually be Isaiah Pacheco and Rachaad White. So if we're going from Devonta Smith to Isaiah Pacheco and Rachaad White, depending on your roster, I'd be fine with it. If you're telling us the bench isn't deep, it would be nice picking up another viable starter. If you're looking at my rankings, I have rest of season Jonathan Taylor ahead of Saquon Barkley. But the issue is it comes down to how important are the next 2 weeks for you? You already mentioned it because the last thing I want to tell you to do is essentially trade away Saquon Barkley for Jonathan Taylor. And to get in the fantasy football playoffs, you need to win the next 2 games. And you end up losing the next 2 games because of that. And you don't get in the fantasy football playoffs. So it doesn't really matter the upside that JT may have during that stretch. So I don't know, my friend. I think that we're probably just going to stick as is. Day coming out says a better running back to stash for a potential running back 2 playoff run. Damian Harris or Cam Akers. Can I choose neither? Speaking as someone who drafted Cam Akers this season, my friend, I would love to choose neither. Now, specifically because of the Damian Harris injury, I think that we would go ahead and, take Cam Akers just because at least Cam Akers is healthy. Obviously, Akers hasn't looked good. Damian Harris hasn't looked good at all. Damian Harris will never catch the ball out of the backfield. Never in a million years. Now, Rick says Barkley, A.J. Brown for JT and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd go JT and Amon-Ra St. Brown if we're just talking the fantasy football playoffs. But keep in mind, you have the Jonathan Taylor bye week in week 14. Now, Dominique says 8-4 and clinch a playoff spot in a full PPR format. Lamb, Higgins, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jameson Williams, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, and Dalton Schultz. Do you hate Kenneth Walker and Mike Williams for DeAndre Swift and Mike Evans? So if we're looking at a full PPR format, I understand the upside play here with DeAndre Swift, a running back that we've seen have the elite level ceiling as a pass catcher before. Like DeAndre Swift can get targeted very, very frequently out of the backfield. With DeAndre Swift, hell, he was being drafted in the first or second round of your fantasy football league this year. But no, we can't make this deal. You got to keep it with Kenneth Walker. With DeAndre Swift, how long can you sit here and talk about his upside that he still has? Like, at some point, we just have to go through and say, well, it doesn't matter. It's not turning into fantasy points. He's still clearly behind Jamal Williams. So I think you go Kenneth Walker, my friend, regardless of the fantasy football playoff schedule, regardless of anything. Now, Aiden says trade Barkley and Kittle for Connor and Andrews. Give me Andrews over Kittle and close. I'd say probably go Barkley if it's a full PPR format. I kind of want to rank Connor over Barkley. They are very, very close. We have a Barkley in our rest of season running back rankings, I believe, at 6. We have Connor down at 11. A big reason for this is Connor's Cardinals are not going to be playing for anything by the time we get to the fantasy football playoffs. And at the same time, he has a bye this week. So you're getting one less week from him, which does very much matter at this point of the year. Now, our next question coming out from Green Blockers says, Buddy's team in my league in a non-PPR format has Hurts, Taylor, and Jones. Receivers are Hopkins and Tyreek. Tight end is Kelsey. And the flex, Pollard, Jamal. Any way he loses? Probably not. Probably not, my friend. Your buddy sounds like he has it on lock. He sounds like he has it on lock. Unless it's like an 8-team league or a 10-team league. Tom says, 2-10. Dye my hair if I get last. Oh my gosh. Pierce, Jeff Wilson, Evans, Adam Thielen, CMC, Keenan Allen. One flex. Who do I sit? I need this dub. I am sorry, my friend. Based on your avatar, it looks like you're rocking a mohawk. And I'm talking mohawk. Shaved bald head outside of the stripe mohawk, if I'm looking at this correctly. So I'd say dyeing your hair probably is going to go with the look. If we're going to be honest, I'd dye it blonde. I may be a little bit biased here. I'd dye it blonde. But anyway, if we are looking at benching one player, you got to bench Adam Thielen. I know Adam Thielen was dominant this past week, but at the same time, I mean, Kirk Cousins is not going to have a day like that every week. On top of this, hell, I mean, you have a tough matchup against the Jets. I know Evans going up against Lattimore. I know Evans was worse this past week, but the man has had the target volume consistently. He's averaging like 10 targets game over the past 5. He had 9 targets this past week. I think we're going to go through. I think we're going to bench Adam Thielen here, my friend. If we have to, I think we're going to bench Thielen. Now, Santi coming out. Thank you, my friend. Says, need advice. Would you trade AJ Brown for Alvin Kamara? Or would you do Debo for David Montgomery? My running back 2 depth is Zeke, Swift, White, Gus. Wide receiver depth is Pittman and Treylon Burks. I would probably hold on to the receivers if we're going to be honest. I mean, with David Montgomery, I thought that he would be in a very good spot. I thought David Montgomery was going to be at a phenomenal spot, but now that we have all these injuries in Chicago, the offense goes from bad to atrocious. And while Khalil Herbert is injured, at the same time, now Darrington Evans is getting a decent amount of usage. So yeah, I think that we probably hold on to the receivers. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Hey Better says, do I start Brian Robinson or Isaiah Pacheco? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start Isaiah Pacheco over Brian Robinson. I think they're both very comparable running backs. They're first and second down rookies that aren't going to catch the ball out of the backfield. But what they do have going for them, at least what Isaiah Pacheco has going for him, is he is playing an elite level offense, of course. Steve coming out. Thank you, my friend. Says, love the streams and videos. Keep it up, brother. We have Dameon Pierce, Garrett Wilson, and Christian Watson. Who are we putting in the flex spot? Okay. You know, my friend, that I have been anti-Dameon Pierce for a long time now, getting hate for it, but our entire stance, I think, ended up being true. That at the end of the day, if you were just looking at running backs in horrible offenses that didn't catch the ball, it's probably a spot we should be avoiding them when we can. So I'm not a massive Dameon Pierce fanboy. I think you probably go Dameon Pierce. Like Christian Watson has been much better, but Christian Watson's not going to continue to have that kind of touchdown volume. Like there's just no way that can happen. I'm seeing if we can find a Dameon Pierce line on Underdog if there's one up yet. No, I don't see one. I'm not a Dameon Pierce fan, but the running back's going to get guaranteed volume. I know people are going to hate us for saying this, but it's just everybody flips on a player like that, even though Dameon Pierce is the exact same player in the exact same situation he was in 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, we were saying when people were viewing him as a running back 1, that he was extremely overvalued. But now when it's like, oh, do we put him in the flex spot or these boom bust wide receivers? I'd probably go with him in the flex. I'm not so excited about it. Now, Kiki coming out says 12-team PPR format. Josh Allen, Etienne, Rashad White, T. Higgins, Mike Evans, and then the flex, Gabriel Davis, tight end Mark Andrews, and then on the bench, Connor, Burks, Tony. Should we trade Higgins for Alvin Kamara and Mike Williams? Already in the playoffs. So obviously we are going to be getting back Jamar Chase, which will negatively impact T. Higgins just a bit here. If we're getting Alvin Kamara in this lineup, Kamara is going to be a weekly starter for us over Rashad White. I think we go ahead. I think let's pull the trigger. We'll trade T. Higgins for Alvin Kamara and Mike Williams. I mean, Kamara wasn't great this past week, but it was just a really tough matchup against the 49ers. And real quick, we are about one like away from hitting 300 likes in this live stream. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like in the stream. It does help us out a ton. Looks like we are 600 people in this live stream right now. So about half of y'all have gone down there and hit that like button. So thank you. Patrick, always happy to see you out here. My man says, what up, Mason? How's the day going for you? It's been pretty good. I had a really good workout today. I'm wondering if I should drop Samuel for Treylon Burks, Darius Slayton, or Zay Jones. I'm also looking for a defense. The Browns and the Ravens are available. I would drop Curtis Samuel for Treylon Burks. I think Treylon Burks has a significantly higher ceiling than Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, is in a bad offense. Curtis Samuel is not even the top option in his bad offense. He's not nearly as talented as Treylon Burks. So let's go ahead. Let's get Treylon Burks, my friend. And then if we're going to be looking at a defense between the Browns and the Ravens, both are in very good spots this week. If we're looking at the Browns and Ravens, you have the Browns going up against the Houston Texans. They're about 7-point favorites. If we're going to be looking at the Ravens, they're going up against the Denver Broncos, where the Ravens are 8.5-point favorites. And oh my God, I got to figure out what the dog's howling about. 1 second. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, she got scared. Now she's under the desk. But anyway, going back to where you're looking at this, I think you go ahead, you take the Baltimore Ravens, my friend. I mean, Russ has just been horrendous. If we go through and if we look at the matchups going forward for both of these teams, let's go Ravens schedule. You have the Ravens this week going up against the Broncos. Then they have the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a phenomenal matchup. Then they have the Browns. You don't love that. But then they have the Atlanta Falcons. And then they have the Pittsburgh Steelers again. I think the Baltimore Ravens defense, probably a very, very good spot. Now, our next question coming out from Chicken Pie Berries says, number one locked up, Deshaun Watson, Pollard for Jonathan Taylor, or Watson for Ayuk. We're 100% going to go get Jonathan Taylor here, my friend. If you could go get Jonathan Taylor, top 5 running back, I'm hoping Deshaun Watson's a top 3 quarterback in how many best ball leagues I have him in. It's not a guarantee. Now, Alex says Ayuk or Waddle. Waddle by about 10 million yards. I don't know how to say this any other way. We've said it since the beginning of the season. Waddle, obviously. It's a meme at this point, me saying it every time we bring up his name. My most drafted wide receiver in fantasy, so I'm very biased, but I like our guy. With Jalen Waddle, the man's an elite level wide receiver, playing in an elite level offense. I know it's a tough matchup this week going up against the 49ers, but I don't give a damn. Give me Waddle this week. Give me Waddle next week. Give me Waddle after that. Give me Waddle the week after that. We're going Waddle forever over Ayuk. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Aiden says, start Sanders or Fournette. We're going to go with Sanders over Fournette. And start Wilson or Lockett. We're going to go Tyler Lockett over Garrett Wilson, even if we are very excited about Garrett Wilson and Mike White. Joey says, trade Dalvin Cook for Kenneth Walker. Yes, I just made our rest of season running back rankings here. We put Kenneth Walker there at 9, and we put Dalvin Cook at 14. Now, Brandon says, if the Chiefs keep or improve their 3-win league in the division, could they sit Travis Kelce the last 2 to 3 weeks for the NFL playoffs? I would say Kelsey probably wouldn't want that to happen. And at the same time, we have to remember that the NFL has changed it where it's not that 2 teams get that bye now. Instead, only 1 team's going to get that bye. So I think you should be a little bit less concerned about that happening. This is why, obviously, you shouldn't have your fantasy football championship the last week of the season. It should be the second to last week of the year. But also, Travis Kelce, I believe so far this season, has already his career high in touchdown receptions. Travis Kelce is older, but I imagine at this point, he's kind of thinking legacy and he's kind of going through trying to rack up stats similar to what Brady's doing. Yeah, Kelce has 12 touchdowns. He's never had 12 touchdowns before. I think if it's possible for him, he tries to get a 16, 17 touchdown season with his resume. Trailer Park Boys says, sit 1, Jonathan Taylor, ETN, Kamara, Lamb, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, or Amari Cooper. I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to bench Keenan Allen. My friend, I'm not that excited about it, though. Now, Tomsky says, pick 3 receivers, Higgins, Evans, Ayuk, Judy, and Pickens. You go Higgins and Evans and don't even think about it. The other guys are really going to be where we have the conversation. I'm not a massive Ayuk guy, just knowing the situation that he's in, knowing that he's going up against Debo, Kittle, and CMC. But we'll go ahead. We'll play Brandon Ayuk. Now, Cammy says, sit 1, Chase, Cooper, Kirk, or Godwin in a half PPR format. If we have to bench one of these guys, I think we're probably going to end up benching Christian Kirk. I don't want to tell too many people to bench Kirk. However, actually, you know what? I don't even know if we can bench Christian Kirk for Chris Godwin. Yes, we have Godwin at 12. We have Kirk at 13 in our wide receiver rankings this week. Let's bench Kirk. It is so damn close. The reason I'm very hesitant to do this, despite Christian Kirk not having a good game this past week, is if you are looking at Christian Kirk, this is a wide receiver that is playing in possibly the second best game environment of the week. Las Vegas sportsbooks right now have the Cincinnati Bengals and Kansas City Chiefs game as the highest scoring game of the week. But after that, they have the Detroit Lions and Jacksonville Jaguars as the second highest scoring game of the week. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I think you still try to get Kirk in your lineup, but here it's just going to be hard because it's a dominant roster. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, Austin says, pick 2 in a full PPR format. Cook, AJ, JT, and Evans or Kirk. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead. We're probably going to be taking Jonathan Taylor over Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook. And then for our wide receiver, we are going to be going ahead. We're going to be taking Christian Kirk over Mike Evans, given the matchup. Percy White, longtime member of the flock, happy to have you out, says, Mason, what's your opinion on Kenneth Walker rest of season? Just traded Amari for him. We have Waddle and Godwin. I mean, I like Kenneth Walker, my second most drafted running back. You know, we got to say it. But with Kenneth Walker, this is an RB that I think you can safely say, hell, I mean, he gives you an extremely high floor ceiling combo. Like, if we're going to go ahead and pull up the Kenneth Walker game log here, since we had the breakout week with Rashad Penny going down, Kenneth Walker, his opportunities per game, I'm going to be adding his carries and targets. 24, 23, 20, 30, 18, 15. So since the Rashad Penny injury, the fewest opportunities that you've had from Kenneth Walker in any game so far has been what? 15? I think you have to be very excited, my friend. He's a rookie, too. I mean, what's really nice as well, Seattle Seahawks actually going to be playing for something here. Now, 20 says, if Garrett Wilson has a repeat performance this week, where does he move up in the wide receiver rankings? Could he potentially be a top 12 guy? Potentially, yes. The issue is there are just so many great receivers that if you're looking at the rankings, like wide receiver 14 through like 22 are about the same. So we have Garrett Wilson at 20 right now. Definitely has that top 24 name. He would have to jump Deebo Samuel, Evans, Olave, Lockett, Metcalf, Keenan, Kirk, Godwin, Higgins to get in top 12. I could see Garrett Wilson reasonably elevating his way into that T. Higgins range, but I think it's going to take maybe 1 to 2 more weeks. I don't think it's going to happen with 1 more week unless it's like a monstrous performance. Now, Henry says, hey, appreciate what you do. No, thank you, my friend. I have to play 2 of Burks, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Dalton Schultz. I'm going to go with the receivers. I know Dalton Schultz coming off a 2-touchdown performance on Thanksgiving. A lot of people are going to be very excited about Dalton Schultz. when in doubt, you always play the wide receiver at the flex spot. And also, if we are going to be fair here, Burks has a lot of upsides, been back-to-back wide receiver 1 in Tennessee type weeks for him. And if we are going to be looking at Donovan Peoples-Jones, we were telling everybody to bench Donovan Peoples-Jones over the past 2 weeks. However, we were saying you still wanted Donovan Peoples-Jones for when you eventually got Deshaun Watson in this offense. When you get Deshaun Watson in here, at that point, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones can be an intriguing option. Now, our next question coming out from, I believe, John says, hey, Mason, in a full PPR format, Hunter Henry or Tyler Conklin, Treylon Burks or Isaiah Pacheco. Always appreciate your great advice. And thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. Non-PPR format, we're going to go Pacheco. Full PPR, we'll go with Treylon Burks, considering the fact that Pacheco will never catch a ball out of the backfield. And looking at Hunter Henry as well as Tyler Conklin, I know a lot of people are looking at what we just got from Hunter Henry. I mean, obviously, the infamous touchdown on Thanksgiving. With Hunter Henry, it seemed like he had some monstrous performance, right? I mean, we can all go, Hunter Henry had a monstrous performance on Thanksgiving. Can someone take a guess? How many receptions do you think Hunter Henry has this season? Hunter Henry has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games. Hunter Henry's played 11 games. Can you take a guess on how many receptions Hunter Henry has? I'm going to check the chat. We have 600 people out here. Let's get 600 messages. I want to see what your thoughts are. 20 says 28. Henry says 45. So we got to guess the 28, 45, 22, 32, 37, 18, 24. The man has 23. The man this past week in the monstrous performance had 3 receptions. The week before that, he only had 1 target. I mean, over the past 6 weeks here, he's had 1 reception, 4 receptions, 1 reception, 3 reception. Like, I think you go Tyler Conklin in a full PPR format. Conklin has had target volume this season, obviously. I mean, it hasn't been phenomenal as of late. Like, he's definitely trending in the wrong direction, but you have seen some random spike weeks from him. Now, our next question coming out from Young Glim says, start Burks, White, or Brian Robinson in a full PPR format, even if Leonard Fournette plays. We'll go ahead. We're going to be taking Rachaad White. Now, Christian says, have you thought of making a Patreon for premium content, quarterback tight end discussion, weekly, rest of season, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there are enough. Yeah, no, we have a locals for content like that. We have a subscription offering on locals, my friend. There is a link in the description. Now, D. Willow says, can add Snell or Kyren Williams. Which one's the must add? I would say if you had to pick one of these guys, I'm going to go Kyren Williams over Benny Snell. I mean, you have Jaylen Warren back at practice. Jaylen Warren's back at practice. I think it's going to be difficult for you to get too excited about what you're going to be getting from Benny Snell. Like, you're assuming best case scenario, Najee Harris misses. And even in that scenario, Benny Snell's not crushing for you. Austin says, 9-3, about to be 10-3 with the stack team and a round 1 bye. Hell yes. Says, thanks for the help. Also, if Goddard's healthy week 15, would you start him over Njoku? Obviously, it's difficult to answer this right now because we are in a spot where we haven't seen David Njoku with Deshaun Watson. We haven't seen Deshaun Watson at all. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult to answer this question right now before we see Deshaun Watson. Not only before we see Deshaun Watson, but before we have accurate reports when it comes to the health and the availability and the playing time for Dallas Goedert. So I kind of want to plead the fifth here, my friend. I kind of want to just wait. Can we? Okay. But let's go down to our next question. This one going to be coming out from, I believe, Micah says, I'm number 1 in the league. We have Allen at quarterback and roster Deshaun Watson, so no one can get him. Should I drop? It's a 10-team full PPR format. Honestly, I'd hold. I mean, obviously, if you were in a league where you haven't passed your trade deadline, you go through and you look to try to see what you could get. Like if we could go ahead and possibly move off of Deshaun Watson, that'd be really nice. But I'm going to assume that you've already passed your trade deadline and you're not able to make a move like that. So reality, then we probably just sit on our hands, right? I think we just sit on our hands in case you have a Josh Allen injury or in case, and Deshaun Watson just turns out to be the quarterback 1 overall, which is not likely, but it is a possibility. I drafted Deshaun Watson in a lot of best ball tournaments this year because of that possibility. Acting like a boss says Warren Knight or Leonard Fournette this week. We're going to go Leonard Fournette, not close, my friend. Brian says got offered Jeff Wilson Jr. Olave for Jamal Williams and Christian Watson. What are your thoughts? I'd rather have Olave over Christian Watson. I'd rather have Jeff Wilson Jr. over Jamal Williams. So give me the Jeff Wilson Jr. and Olave side. YRN Leon says in a 10-team full PPR format, trade Walker, Christian Watson for Keenan and Jeff Wilson Jr. Running backs are Cook, Connor, Pierce, Latavius. Wide receivers are Waddle, DJ Moore, Boyd, Odell, as well as Cooper Kupp. So Walker to Jeff Wilson Jr., I'd say it's a massive downgrade. Christian Watson and Keenan Allen is an upgrade, but no. Keep the Kenneth Walker side. I know Kenneth Walker, the efficiency was way down this past week. Like Kenneth Walker didn't look that good, but still, Walker is an extremely young player. I think he gets to continue to improve in this offense. He has touchdown upside. We saw him go out there and actually have a game with 8 targets, show us that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I'd say we're probably going to go with Kenneth Walker here, my friend. If I had to pick someone, we're going to go Kenneth Walker. Now, our next question coming out from Arnwad says, in a half PPR format with 2 wide receivers and a flex, Amari, Debo, Evans, and Ezekiel Elliott. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Amari Cooper. Mike Evans and Debo are going to be very close. We have these 2 guys ranked back-to-back this week. You have Mike Evans going up against Lattimore. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Let's play all 3 wide receivers. Play all 3 wide receivers. I know, obviously, Ezekiel Elliott did a phenomenal, and I repeat, a phenomenal week. Just phenomenal Thanksgiving Day. But I don't know. It's difficult to assume that continues to be his elevation of play throughout the entire season. Now, Michael coming out with a massive donation. Thank you, my friend. Says JT in a tough matchup against the Dallas defense, or Etienne against Detroit coming off an injury. 2 starters are Mixon and Aaron Jones. Also, Lawrence or Watson hesitant to start Watson. I would go Watson. I will say Lawrence in a pretty good spot this week if you're looking at the implied team totals of the week. Right now, or just the over-under of games, you have the Detroit Lions and Jacksonville Jaguars as the highest over-under of any game you're going to find this week outside of the Cincinnati Bengals and Kansas City Chiefs contest. I honestly think we mixed things up a bit here, my friend. If we're starting Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, and we're debating between Taylor and Travis Etienne, I know Aaron Jones does have a very good matchup going up against the Chicago Bears. I think Aaron Jones would probably be the guy I'm sitting in that instance. I know Jonathan Taylor has a significantly tougher matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. But can everybody please spam the chat for me? Can everybody please spam the chat? Who are you going with on your bench? You have to bench one of these players. One of these players, who are you benching? Jonathan Taylor against the Dallas Cowboys defense. Aaron Jones and a struggling Green Bay Packers offense. Travis Etienne coming off an injury, but in a great matchup against the Detroit Lions. Are you benching Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, or Travis Etienne? Please spam the chat. We have 600 people here. Let's get 600 messages. Okay. Aaron Jones, Taylor, Aaron Jones, Etienne, Taylor, Jones, Etienne, Jones, Etienne, Etienne, Jones. Well, it sounds like most people are going to go ahead and bench Aaron Jones there, my friend. It's close. And yeah, with Deshaun Watson, I understand being hesitant to start him his first week back. Like, I'm not telling anybody to go start Deshaun Watson over Lamar Jackson. We've had a lot of those questions. No, you please go start your stud quarterback. But if it's like Deshaun Watson versus Trevor Lawrence, even if Lawrence has a great matchup, I'll go Deshaun. Now, Daniel says Washington, Jets, or the Seattle Seahawks defense this week. Washington, good matchup against a struggling Giants team with a ton of injuries. Jets don't love the matchup against Minnesota. You know what? We're probably going to take the Seattle defense. Seattle is favored by, I believe, 7.5 points against the Los Angeles Rams there. Obviously, the Rams look very, very bad. Jordan says Mike Evans or Keenan Allen this week. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take Keenan Allen if Mike Williams were to miss. Sawyer says, are you taking Mike Williams or Courtland Sutton at the flex? I would be very hesitant to plan on starting Mike Williams his first week back if he were to play. I mean, let me go ahead and pull up the most recent report that we have with Mike Williams. I would say if you have no Jerry Jeudy, you probably got to play Courtland Sutton. Okay, let's pull this up with Mike Williams. Yeah, Mike Williams still did not practice today. Coaching staff can say whatever they want, but if the man's not at practice, we've already seen this year that the Chargers don't really care about telling us what they're going to do. How long do we think Keenan Allen is going to come back for him to actually play? I think you plan on Mike Williams missing and you play Courtland Sutton. Marker Word says, we have CMC, Leonard Fournette, A.J. Dillon, Akers, Snell. Drop Akers or Snell for Mason, Warren, Darrell Henderson, Tyrion Davis-Price, Ty Johnson, Alexander Madison, or Tevin Coleman. Help. Okay, so I'd say you're never starting this last running back anyway. So the only thing we're doing is looking for the highest ceiling possible, someone that could actually make a difference in our lineup for the fantasy football playoffs. We have an entire video coming out about this tomorrow, but I will go ahead. We will drop Benny Snell now that you have Jalen Warren back at practice. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to be dropping Benny Snell for Alexander Madison, who would immediately be a top 3 running back if Dalvin Cook were to go down. Andrew says, are we playing Watson over Dak? This week, we're going to go Dak Prescott with the uncertainty of Deshaun Watson, but I think maybe rest of season, you could end up going Watson. Let's wait a week, though. Also, for the flex, Warren if Najee's out or Gus Edwards in a full PPR. Full PPR if Najee Harris is out, Warren plays. We're going to go Jalen Warren. Edwards isn't going to catch the ball. Anthony says Mason, Burrow, or Allen PPR. Thank you for supporting the channel. Obviously, Burrow in a much better game environment. Burrow in a much better matchup going up against the Chiefs compared to Allen against the Pats. And especially if Allen's going to be playing on Thursday night. If it's a 4-point passing touchdown league, I'm honestly, regardless, I'm still going to go Josh Allen just because the rushing upside that you're getting from Josh Allen at the same time. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Aristotle Enjoyer, always happy to have you out, says Big 2, Lamar, Dak, Lawrence for this week. Probably going to go with Lamar and Dak. I know Lawrence is a much, much better matchup than Dak Prescott. Lawrence has had a very strong 3-game stretch here, but I'm still not a believer in Lawrence. Now, Michael coming out with a massive dono. Thank you, my friend, says, I'm a bit jaded because I traded for Jones after he got hurt, but when he played the Bears defense earlier this year and lost that game strictly because of him, they had Roquan and Quinn too. Yeah, I mean, the Bears look very bad, but at the same time, there, in my opinion, is just so much uncertainty with this Green Bay Packers offense where maybe I'm being a little bit too cautious. I know that Aaron Jones and the Green Bay Packers in general just historically put up a ridiculous amount of points against the Bears. And like you said, I mean, obviously the Bears defense is lacking at this point as well, but I don't know. It's close, my friend. I still think we go Taylor. I think we go Taylor. Dominic says traded Godwin and Pittman for Jefferson. What are your thoughts? Love it. Phenomenal. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. Great trade. Now, Elliot says traded Jamal for Kirk and Gibson. Was this a good move? If it's Christian Kirk, yeah, let's go ahead and let's pull the trigger if it's a full PPR format and you needed a wide receiver. Now, Kayona says, are the 49ers rookie running backs viable stashes for the fantasy playoffs with Elijah Mitchell on the IR and CMC dealing with the issues? Also, will Najee Harris be good to go for the playoffs? So Najee Harris didn't practice today. We didn't get too much clarity on the situation. What I'm worried about regarding Najee Harris is the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers have no incentive to rush him back. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not playing for anything. So that is going to make me a little worried here, my friends. I'm sitting here trying to think. If you wanted to go pick up some rookie running backs from the 49ers, I'm not going to fault you for it. The issue is, I think if CMC were to miss time, a big reason I haven't focused too much in on, who's the actual running back 2 in San Francisco is, you have to figure out who the running back 2 actually is. Is it Price? Is it Mason? We don't really know. And B, even if Christian McCaffrey were to go down, does it just turn into a 50-50 backfield where you can't start either player? So I'm fine if you want to roster one of them. I'm not dying to do it, though. Daniel says, Garrett Wilson, Palmer, Williams, Slayton, Lazard. Who are you starting out of these three? Sutton, Deontay Pickens, Campbell on the waiver wire. Love the content. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. First off, I'm not a Courtland Sutton guy. I mean, I built an entire brand calling Courtland Sutton the most overrated player in fantasy. But I would go ahead. I would drop Darius Slayton to pick up Courtland Sutton with all the injuries in Denver. And then you're saying, who are you starting of these three? Are you asking if we had to start three guys, or who are we just starting out of this group? Because you listed more than three players. I think Garrett Wilson's the easy answer. It's Garrett Wilson and then whoever the starting running back, whoever is starting for the Chargers. If Mike Williams is starting, then we take Mike Williams. If he's not, then Joshua Palmer. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and let's drop Slayton for Courtland Sutton. Michael says, I'll ride with your opinion. Can't miss the playoffs either way. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I mean, you know, I do appreciate you. And I'm hoping that we're right. I'm hoping that Taylor scores a lot of points for you this week. Now, Aiden says, full PPR, rank these players from 1 to 7 at the flex. Mixon, Etienne, Tyreek, Keenan, Godwin, Rashad, and Christian Watson. Thanks. So thank you. We're going to go Tyreek Hill 1. We're going to go Travis Etienne 2, Joe Mixon 3. I mean, actually, we could probably swap that. We can probably go Mixon 2, Etienne 3. Who the hell cares? And then after that, we are going to go Godwin, Keenan, Rashad, and Christian Watson. And Chisel says, start Evans, Burks, Watson, or White this week. Ooh, we're going to go ahead. I think that we are going to end up taking Mike Evans if Leonard Fournette plays and cuts into Rashad White's workload. Whereas if Leonard Fournette were to miss, then at that point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be taking Rashad White. But I think that should be it for this live stream. Looks like we went about an hour. We're going to end this. I will premiere a video later today as well. I think we're probably not going to premiere that video right now. Maybe we wait a few hours to do so. But thank you so much for hanging out with us in this live stream. I truly do appreciate you. I'm going to leave this up as a video afterwards. So I would really do appreciate it if you could go down there and drop a like on this live stream. Please help us out. And of course, I've live streamed for 150 days in a row. So if you don't want to miss the live stream going forward, just make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. Thank you again. I truly do appreciate you. I really hope that you have a great day. And I really hope that we get to see you with the premiere later today. I think we'll be going over running back skyrocketing up rankings.